Dashur miq, selam aleikum. Takohemi sot në datën 22 maj i vitit 2020. Sot do të flasim për çështjen palestineze. Shumë prej jush i kanë ndjekur emisionet që unë kam bërë prej vitesh për krizën palestineze, për vuajtjen e popullit Palestinës, i cili vuan në regjimin fashist dhe apartheidal të Izraelit. Për personat që ndjekin çështjen e Palestinës, ju besoj jeni në dijeni se çfarë po ndodh në këto javët e fundit. Qeveria amerikane me mbështetjen totale që ajo i jep regjimit totalitar të Benjamin Netanjahut, më së fundmi i kanë dhënë dritën e gjelbër qeverisë izraelite që të aneksojnë Bregun Perendimor, apo ato që njihet si West Bank, dhe me këtë aneksim çfarë kërkon të bëjë qeveria e Izraelit, kërkon që t'i japi fund një herë mirë shtetit të Palestinës, ëndrrës së palestinezëve për të krijuar një shtetin e tyre, sikur është rënë dakord në sa rezoluta të Organizatës së Kombeve të Bashkuara dhe në marrëveshjen e Oslos, dhe pak a shumë me aneksimin që regjimi fashist i Benjamin Netanjahut kërkon të bëjë në Palestinë, synon që t'japi fund jo vetëm shtetit të Palestinës, por aneksimi i Bregut Perendimor të Palestinën në një vend edhe më të dëshpëruar, ku vëllezërit dhe motrat palestineze, musliman dhe të krishterë, do të jetojnë në gjendjen e plevërve apo të burgosurve, të cilët jetojnë në një lockdown total nga regjimi izraelit. Por ju miq që jetoni në Ballkan, në Shqipëri, që jeni prekur nga diktatura e koronavirusit, keni parë se çfarë të mirë ishte të paktën për ne në Shqipëri, në javët e marsit, kur Edi Rama shpalli diktaturën e koronavirusit. Kur ne u mbyllëm me dhunë në shtëpitë tona, nuk na lejonin që të dilnim edhe të blenim bukë, dhe qytetet tona policoheshin me ushtar dhe me mitraloz dhe automatik. Kjo është situata e përditshme në Palestinë që nga viti 1948. Por aneksimi i Bregut Perendimor, ku regjimi izraelit ka pushtuar me dhunë tokat e palestinezëve dhe nëpër fshatrat, nëpër qytetet e palestinezëve ka ndërtuar koloni çifutësh, e rrit edhe më tej klimën e lockdownit. Sot, të ftuar në videot e mia, unë kam një person special, ai është zoti Raed Debei. Raedi është udhëheqësi i degës rinore të lëvizjes së Fatahut. Lëvizja e Fatahut është lëvizja e famshme, e cila një herë i kohë ka patur udhëheqës të saj Yasser Arafatin, është një lëvizje martirësh palestinez që prej më shumë se sa 5 apo 6 dekadash lufton për çlirimin e Palestinës. Zoti Raed Debei është gjithashtu edhe lektor i shkencave politike në Universitetin e Ndajut në Nablus. Universitetin e zotit Raed unë e kam vizituar në dhjetor të vitit 2018, kur vizitova Palestinën dhe bëra këtë libër me titull Izraeli dhe Palestina apo pralla e dy vendeve. Ama kur kam shkuar në Nablus atëherë nuk pata mundësinë që ta takoj zotin Raed. Tani biseda jonë do kthehet në gjuhën angleze, dhe unë do t'i bëj disa pyetje Raedit në lidhje me planet e qeverisë Netanjahut për aneksimin e Bregut Perendimor, reagimet ndërkombëtare për këtë punë, reagimet e ummetit apo e botës muslimane në mbështetje të Palestinës, do ta pyes se kush është roli i Fatahut dhe çfarë ka Fatahu kundër i akti ilegal të qeverisë izraelite dhe do ta pyes në fund edhe për rezistencën palestineze. Mr. Raed Debei, thank you very much for coming on my show. My name is Dr. Olsi Jazexhi. I'm a lecturer of history in Albania. I visited Palestine in December 2018. And during my visit, and after my visit, I was invited by your foreign ministry. And after my visit, I even published this book called Israel and Palestine, The Tale of Two Countries, where in few words, I have introduced to the Albanian public the suffering of the Palestinian people, the desperate life, the lockdown in which you live in by the Israeli occupation. I made this book to be in a way as a kind of guidebook for those Albanians who visit Israel and Palestine. I suggest to friends, whenever you go and visit Palestine, you should of course visit Masjid al-Aqsa, which is the third holiest mosque for us in Islam. But I also advise our Christian and Muslim and atheist friends, whatever they are, that whenever they go to visit Israel, they should not go to Haifa and Tel Aviv only, but they should cross the Kalandia checkpoint and they should visit Ramallah, they should visit Nablus, they should visit Hebron al-Halil, and to see and they should visit Jericho, the place where Jesus Christ made his miracles, and they should see how the Christians and Muslims of Palestine are suffering. Now, before we start, I just want, if you can, to give us a brief introduction about yourself, who you are and what you do.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to explain to our brothers and sisters in Albania what's going on in Palestine. As you mentioned, my name is Raed Debei. I am Fatah Youth International Leader in Palestine, and I am teaching political science at ndaj National University. As well, I am social activist. I'm leading one of the NGOs called Seeds for Development and Culture as well in Palestine.
Excellent. Can you explain to the Albanian public and people who are going to see our interview, what are the plans of the Netanyahu government for annexing the West Bank?
Well, first of all, it is not just Netanyahu's plan. It is the Zionist dream since more than 72 years. The Zionist ideology based on what it's called less Arab and more lands, mean replacement the Arabs with the Zionists and with the occupiers and with the settlers. Now Netanyahu believes he's in the last page of this story, and he's trying to fulfill this right-wing Zionist ideology by investing and abusing a person like Trump in the power. So now Netanyahu believes he's in a race with time. He's trying to annex West Bank before the next elections in America. Annexation of West Bank means that Israel will steal the lands of Palestine in West Bank, especially the Palestinian Valley, which equal almost 28% of West Bank, and which is the vegetables basket and the food basket of the Palestinian people. So unfortunately, with this kind of apartheid systems, any hope in the two-state solution or any hope in a Palestinian independent state in the future will be a kind of utopia. Not just Jordan Valley or Palestinian Valley, but even the illegal settlements and the illegal colonies inside West Bank, which is like the cancer in the body of the Palestinian lands. Now Trump cover all of this apartheid system, policies for his friend Netanyahu, because they both share the same ideology, which is the ideology based on apartheid and discrimination. And with this right-wing coalition in Israel, which include most of the radical and right-wings ideologists and colonies and as well settlers in Israel, the right-wing leaders in Israel believe that it is the chance that they have to take and that it is the last page of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. And they think that with the annexation of West Bank, they can achieve the Zionist apartheid dream, which is the state of Israel on the lands of West Bank and the lands which has occupied in the 1948. I would like to say that this annexation plan will never pass because we are the Palestinians, we are the real owners of the land, and we will do everything possible, including sacrificing our blood and our souls in order to protect our homelands. The international community giving us the right to struggle in all ways, in order to get rid of this apartheid and this injustice and this occupation in our homelands.
In December 2018, when I visited Palestine, I visited the village of Jalud, and I saw the Jewish colonies of Shiloh, Shut Rachel, Khirbet Sarah, and some other colonies. Now, these are some of the pictures.
Yes,
now,
of course.
During our visit, we saw that we went to the village of Ahia, by the way, and we even faced Jewish colonists. Now, what we saw during our visit was that Israel is not respecting at all the Oslo Agreement and other international agreements. They had put Palestinian cities and villages under a military occupation. For example, you in Nablus, when we visited, before entering in Nablus, we had to pass through a checkpoint. The checkpoint, if you can help me with the name.
Za'atara.
Sorry?
Za'atara checkpoint.
Zaatari, yes, Zaatari checkpoint.
Za'atara, but it is one of, if you came from Ramallah, Za'atara is one of 3 checkpoints. We have Za'atara, we have Huwara, and we have some many others. In the addition to what we call flying checkpoints, it's mean Israeli patrols stop between the streets in order to stop the people and prevent them to have a daily and normal life.
Yeah, so when we came to Zaatari checkpoint, it was very scary. We saw Israeli soldiers with military vehicles, with automatic rifles, and we saw even the colony of Havad Gilad, which was in the top of the hill. So, I mean, Nablus was a prison, was a virtual prison, was like many cities for us are returning now. For example, we had in Albania a coronavirus lockdown, and they went crazy. We had a lockdown for 40 days, and we went mad. But you in Palestine, most of your cities, like Jericho that I visited, like Hebron, like Nablus, you are in a total lockdown. So my question is, what is Netanyahu planning to do next? Are they going to now send their settlers inside your own cities? Are they going to turn, let us say, Nablus and Ramallah and Jericho into
he already did that in Hebron. Now in Hebron we have hundreds of settlers in the heart of the old city of Hebron. And now when you speak about settlers, of course they're living in our cities. In Nablus they are 5 minutes far from our main streets. And what I would like to say, first of all, what does Netanyahu want? Netanyahu doesn't want Palestinians in West Bank. It's very clear that he wants the geography without the demography. He wants the land without the people. Netanyahu doesn't want more Palestinians because even he's looking for any chance to get rid from the 1 million Palestinians living inside Israel. So of course he doesn't want the people, but he wants the land. That's why Netanyahu trying to convert our life into a tragedy in order to push people to leave their homelands. this is the Zionist dream since very long time. Netanyahu, he's more clear than the others. Netanyahu represents the real face of the Israeli government, and he's telling directly what he wants. Unfortunately, the previous governments in Israel, including the Labour Party, by the way, the Labour Party claiming that he's a social democratic party, he's member in the SI, he's member in the social democratic family, but unfortunately he accepted to be part of this right-wing coalition, which based on the annexation of our land. So I think what we have in Israel is a gang. We have criminals. Netanyahu is a war criminal, and his corruption, he's corrupted as well. His right place to be inside the jail, if not inside the Israeli jails, but in the international jails, because unfortunately he's leading a group of criminals whom committed crimes against our people in a daily basis. Now the whole world witnessing Corona, and I guess, doctor, for you it's a bit difficult to stay 40 days in the quarantine, but I would like to tell you that we grown up in a quarantines, but not because of the coronavirus, because of the incubation virus. In 2002, we grown up for 6 hours under curfew. We were not able to go out from our homelands except 2 hours each 2 weeks in order to buy foods. Me personally, when I born, my father was in the jail. When I went to my first day in the school, he was in the jail. My very first day in the university, when I was less than 18 years old, I was politically prisoner. And I am not exceptional. I am part of the Palestinian community. More than 60% of the Palestinian males has been politically prisoners. We have hundreds of children and women in the Israeli jails. This situation has to be finished. Enough is enough. Palestinian people deserve to have freedom, justice like all the people in all over the world. Otherwise, this right-wing government inside Israel threat the whole security, not just the Palestinian security, but the whole security, because they feed the right-wing's ideologies all over the world. It is enough. We think that it is the time that international community should take a direct measures. This hypocrisy for Israel in the favor of Israeli people has an end. Otherwise, another circle of action and reaction would start. This conflict could never go with win-lose situation. If it will go like this, why it should not go to lose-lose situation? If the world doesn't want to listen to the voice of our leadership, which adopt the non-violence ways of struggle and which denounce all kind of violence, so maybe the other alternatives that we should make headache to the world in order to listen to our voice. We don't want to reach to these points, but it is the chance for international community to decide if they want peace or violence, occupation or freedom, apartheid or equality. Now the ball in the hands of the people and the international community.
Let me make you another question. In August 2019, I visited China, Xinjiang, East Turkestan, and I saw how the Chinese were mistreating the Turkic Muslims of East Turkestan. They had built concentration camps and they had placed the Muslim cities of East Turkestan into a military lockdown. So the situation in East Turkestan or in Xinjiang is somehow similar to the situation that you have in West Bank. However, the thing that I do not understand is why the international community is reacting so strongly against China, but they do not have the same reaction against Israel. After coming from China, I visited many Western institutions where I gave my testimonies. I visited even the European Parliament. But when it comes to the Palestinian issue, there is a general silence. Why?
Well, First of all, silence is complicity. Who decides to keep silent means he's part of the problem. He cannot ignore that he's part of the aggression against our people. Well, first of all, I don't see any reason why, for example, international community denounce any kind of annexation when it comes from any other countries, while his silence when it comes from Israel. I think there is no reason for international community to keep silent again. And I want to say that if anybody believes that Israelis were victims once, according to the mistakes of Europeans in the past, we should not be the victims of the victims. We fully showing sympathy with the suffering of all the people all over the world, including the Jewish during their suffering against the Nazist regime. But I would like to say that this doesn't justify the Israeli crimes against our people. If they were victims, doesn't mean that they should be victimizers now. What we witness now is a general silence by the international community, full complicity by the administration in America, and a full complicity by some other countries such as Austria and Hungary in Europe. So it is the time for international community, for governments to take the right actions and to be in the right direction of the history. Because believe me, my brother, the history will never forgive if we leave Palestinian people once alone. And we are humans. We will defend our people and protect our people, and we will take all needed measures, including all kinds of resistance in order to prevent our people. If the international community wants peace, stability in the whole world, they should say no once and forever to the apartheid regime in Israel. It is the time to end this apartheid system. I don't see any reason why international community is still just giving us some slogans and some statements. Statements doesn't mean anything.
Mr. Raed, if I can give you a question. In November 2016, Israel was supposed to play a football match with Albania here in city of Shkodra in Albania. City of Shkodra has a large Muslim pro-Palestinian population, and the fans of Albania, they were going to protest in support of Palestine. Israel was mad at this fact, and what they did by using Mossad and their medias, they claimed that a terrorist attack had been against the Israeli football team. For this reason, they ordered the government of Albania and Kosovo to arrest around 20 Muslim believers. Many of them were beaten up. They were accused as a would-be terrorist. But now, 4 years later, the court in Albania released these people, and these people, they were innocent. The behavior of the Israeli regime against Albanian Muslims in Albania and Kosovo is upsetting many Muslims. During the Second World War, we in Albania saved 100% of Jews from Nazi Holocaust. We hosted the Jews in our homes and we saved them. But the behavior of Israel with Muslim Albanians is very strange. When I visited Palestine and Israel in 2018, in Tel Aviv, in Ben Gurion airport, whenever they were seeing us coming from Albania with Albanian passports, they were stopping and harassing Albanians because majority of us are Muslim. Now, I do not understand this psychopathic behavior of the Jewish state. We in the Balkans, we Jews from the Reconquista of Spain, together with our Ottoman brothers. And during the time of Hitler, we saved them from the Holocaust. Why they misbehave with us? What have we done to them?
Well, First of all, it's very clear that this right-wing government, this occupation, its mentality based on discrimination and based on psychopath problems. I'll give you another example. By the way, while Jewish people were discriminated in Europe and in the West, all of Middle Eastern countries, the Arab countries, the Islamic countries, and North African countries, they opened their doors for Jewish people and they protected them. Unfortunately, in a daily basis now, Israel attacks Syria, Lebanon, even Iraq, Gaza Strip, and West Bank. This is the mentality of the occupation. And by the way, I'll tell you something. Israel has a problem with all the peace and social justice and the freedom and equality believers, not just with Muslims. Israel claimed that any person raise his voice to say Palestinians deserve freedom and justice, that he's anti-Semitic. And unfortunately, there is a lot of governments, including the German one, including the British one, including the Austrian one, whom adopted regulations and their parliaments adopted statements and proposals who equal, for example, BDS with anti-Semitic. This is the real apartheid. This is the mentality of the occupation. This will never protect the Israeli people, because at the end of the day, as our leader Marwan al-Barghouti, he's in the jail for 18 years now, he said that only freedom and ending the occupation could bring the sustainability and get the security for Israel. Nothing else, nothing such as attacking all the freedom fighters or claiming that they are anti-Semitic, or as well trying to convince and to push governments to take some actions and regulations against any kind of direct measures against this apartheid system. The apartheid system has been ended in South Africa because there was international consensus and willing. We need this willing and consensus, not for Palestinians, but for the issue of freedom, justice, and for the stability and security in the whole world.
Great. Now, since you mentioned the great martyr, the living martyr of Palestine, the Mandela of Palestine, Mr. Barghouti,
he's not a martyr. He's not a martyr. He's politically prisoner.
Yeah, I said, but he's a living martyr, I said, because he's a living shahid. I mean,
yeah, he's our hero. He's one of our heroes. Marwan al-Barghouti, Karim Yunus, and all of his brothers and sisters, they are our symbols, our freedom fighters, yes.
Yes, and last year we made an event here in Tirana, and we described Mr. Marwan al-Barghouti like Nelson Mandela of Palestine. Now, coming back to our question, and since you represent the youth of Fatah movement, and Mr. Barghouti is your leader, my question is, what is Fatah going to do in case of the official annexation by Israel of the West Bank?
Well, in Fatah and in Fatah Youth, we will do what we should do. We will hold our responsibility. First of all, maybe it is very important to mention that Fatah is one of the oldest revolutionary movements in Middle East and in Palestine. We are a liberation movement which has started in the 50th of the last century in order to liberate our homeland from the Zionist movement and from the Israeli occupation. During the previous 60 or 70 years, Fatah entered a lot of battles, including military battles, economic battles, social battles, and political battles against this occupation. And now we already, as the leading party in Palestine, our central committee decided the following. First of all, to end all the agreements with the apartheid system in Israel and with the right-wing administration in US, including the security cooperation, including all kind of agreement with the Israeli apartheid system. We will apply for all of the UN agencies because it is our right, and we do believe that international agencies and agreements is very important platform to raise the voice of Palestinians. But before everything, we already declared the state of emergency among our people and among our activists all over Palestine and in the diaspora. We do believe that the popular resistance and all kind of the resistance against this occupation is a right according to the international law, and we will never hesitate to protect our people and to use our right in the popular resistance as a method and as a methodology towards the freedom, justice for our case.
Now, you know that you Palestinians, you have two major movements right now leading the resistance towards Israel. One is the PLO under Chairman Mahmoud Abbas, which is leading a peaceful resistance. On the other hand, we have Hamas and Hezbollah and Islamic Jihad, who are leading a military resistance against Israel. What do you think will be the reaction of the military resistance in case Israeli regime starts a new massacre with the annexation of the West Bank?
Well, first of all, Hezbollah is Lebanese party, as you know, or movement. But for us, we do believe that our people has the right to practice all kind of the resistance in order to achieve our goals. We gave the international community more than 20 years opportunity in order to take direct actions in order to give us our freedom. For us in Fatah Youth, we were realistic from the beginning. We used the fruitful ways of the struggle, but it doesn't mean that we denounce any kind of the struggle. So for us, the situation on the ground is the most important factor which decide which kind of the resistance we should use in order to achieve our national goals. But it doesn't mean that we denounce the violence or the non-violence. We do believe that the military struggle and the non-violence struggle complete each other's. And I would like to mention that if you look scientifically, like if you go to the numbers, you would very easily discover that the number of or the percentage of the Palestinian political prisoners from Fatah are the majority. And we were in Fatah and in Fatah Youth movement involved in all kind of the resistance because it is a right for our people according to the international law. I don't understand what the international community waiting from us when we see Israel steal our lands. I really ask you, what would be the reaction of your people if tomorrow one of your neighboring countries, God forbid, will annex Tirana, for example, and telling that now it is not Albanian city? What will be the reaction of your people? Will you just wait international community to give you slogan and statements, or you will go with your people to protect your country and your homeland?
Well, the history have shown us that when Hitler bombed London, the British, they rose up and they fought off Hitler. Now, of course, every nation, every people who are under occupation, it is their legal right to resist to the invaders, to the killers, to the butchers, to the terrorists. Brother Raed, I have another question for you. What do you think will be the reaction of the Muslim Ummah after Netanyahu makes his announcement real by annexing the West Bank? We know that since the fall of the Soviet Union, since 1991, the Americans and their NATO allies, they have been systematic on breaking and destroying all these Arab countries who were supporting Palestinian resistance. We had the destruction of Iraq, destruction of Yemen, destruction of Libya, destruction of Syria. And today we see some Gulf Arab countries who they are on the same page with Israel. What do you think will happen?
Well, look, first of all, I would like to send the following message to our brothers and sisters all over the world. If they are Muslims or un-Muslims, because for us, we do believe that when we struggle for Al-Aqsa, we struggle in behalf of all the Muslims and the Christians all over the world. And when we try to protect Al-Quds or Jerusalem, Jerusalem is the capital for Palestine, but it is the holy place for all Muslims and the Christians all over the world. So our struggle is the struggle for freedom, for justice, not just for Palestinians, but we struggle in behalf of all the humanity and all the Muslims and the Christians and all the freedom fighters all over the world. That's why we salute and we highly appreciate all the support we have from our Muslim Ummah, from our Christians friends, from our people all over the world, regardless to their color, their race, or their religion, because at the end of the day, the Palestinian struggle against the occupation and apartheid, part of the international and human struggle for better world and for equal rights for all the people all over the world. Unfortunately, we're witnessing every day this normalization behavior of a lot of Arab and Islamic countries. And we would like to tell these governments that, believe us, Israel will never be your friend. Israel will always be your enemy. Your enemy is the occupation, the apartheid. You can never achieve any military help by the Israelis. They will leave you in the middle of the way. They will just take your sources. They will just enter your markets. And at the end of the day, they will give you a big zero. We think that the real place for these Arab countries is to be in the right direction of the history, which is to support the Palestinian struggle. Otherwise, they will lose, because I'm telling you something. If you look to the coin, to the Israeli coin, which is called Agora, Agora is the smallest coin in the Israeli currency system. There is a map on this coin, in this currency. This map represents all of the Nile area, including Egypt, Iraq, Jordan, and Gulf areas. So if the Israelis today want to annex West Bank, but believe me, their strategic aim is to annex all of the area from Nile to Furat. This is the Zionist dream. So if they think that Israel could be a friend, Israel will and will never be a friend to these regimes. But unfortunately, these regimes, because they are a dictator regimes, because they are authoritarian regime, they think by coalition with another authoritarian and apartheid system such as Israel or the administration of Trump, they could achieve any political impacts. I'm telling them, your only way to sustain your rules, democracy, equality, social justice, and improving the life of your people. Israel is not the gate. Israel is the problem, and they will never be the solution.
Right. Thank you very much for your insights. I hope the Albanian public and the people who see our video will be enlightened by your thoughts, and they will understand that the plan by the Israeli regime to annex the West Bank is going to bring much more conflict, suffering, terrorism in the Middle East.
Thank you.
We live in Europe and live in liberal democracies. We really hope that the Israeli regime will become a democratic regime. Unfortunately, thanks to their influence and money and control of the media, the message on what Israel is doing to Palestinians doesn't get through. But I hope that people will use the social medias like we do and tell to the world that Israel is one of the most ruthless dictatorial regimes of the Middle East. When I visited Israel and Palestine, I saw the discrimination that they were doing towards you guys, the native people of Palestine. You who are the descendants of original Jews, of Arabs, of Jesus Christ, and of the prophets. And Israel is refusing to implement democracy with you. Because if they implement democracy, or let us say, what will be the plan B of Netanyahu after annexing West Bank? Will he give you the right of the vote? No. He's going to treat you as
Apartheid system.
I mean, what Netanyahu is doing with you.
Yeah, he will create apartheid system exactly like South Africa.
You already have the apartheid system.
Exactly.
But I think if they go ahead with the annexation of the West Bank, your cities are going to be turned into massive concentration camps. And I would like to appeal to the journalists who are going to see to see our interview, to American officials, to Israeli officials, to Mossad, to European security officials, to call into their senses and to ask Netanyahu to stop his madness. I mean, Palestine needs democracy. Israel needs democracy. If tomorrow you will have democratic elections in Israel and Palestine, Netanyahu is going to end up in jail. He is never going to be elected into the Israeli Knesset. But what the Israeli state is doing with you, they are treating you like prisoners of war. They are treating you like China does with Uyghur Muslims, who sends them into concentration camps. And the international community who sees our interview should call to its senses and should tell to Netanyahu and to his gangsters around him and criminals, stop your madness, stop your war, and give democracy to Palestine. If they implement democracy in Israel and Palestine, if they stop their apartheid regime, their fascist regime, the issue of Palestine is going to be resolved in a peaceful manner. Otherwise, even if Netanyahu annexes the West Bank, Israel will never be happy and will never sleep quiet in his home. I saw it during my visits in Tel Aviv, in Ben Gurion, in Jerusalem. These people, they were living all the time with guns in their hands. They're not at peace. These people, they need peace, but peace cannot be achieved through war. Peace can be achieved through peace and love, tolerance, and multicultural and multi-religious coexistence. Netanyahu and his regime, they need to stop their madness, their fascism, their attack against Masjid al-Aqsa, because they have to know that people who care about Palestine, it is not only you guys who are in Palestine, but it is all mankind. Believe me, Raed, because you guys, you live in a virtual prison in Palestine, but outside of Palestine, from Canada to the United States, to the European Union, to us in the Balkans, even people in China, in Asia, in Africa, everybody feels about you, and we feel very, very sad about what's going on. I would like very much to thank you for
coming. Can I just say the last word?
Sure, go ahead.
Well, I would like to say that Palestine has been started with the sunrise of the civilization. Israel has started 72 years ago. We were here thousands of years ago. And we are the third Palestinian generation after the Nakba, more determined to continue our struggle for love, for peace, for freedom, for social justice. We will never give up. We were here. We are here in our land. We will always be here. We highly appreciate your solidarity. Your solidarity means a lot for us. And we promise all of you, our brothers and sisters in Albania and in all over the world, to continue our struggle in behalf of you. And we will never leave our lands for the victimizers and for the occupation. Palestine for Palestinians, and we still wait direct measures for you and for the others in order to end this apartheid. You always welcome in Palestine. Palestine always think about you as you think about us, and we are part of the international struggle against apartheid and occupation. Palestine will be free, and we promise you to keep our struggle until the end. Today I am with you, tomorrow I could be a martyr or a political prisoner, but our struggle will continue. We are just people, but the struggle will continue. If I die tomorrow, maybe my son or my daughter will continue this process until the freedom and justice.
Brother Raed, thank you for the brave word. I visited the West Bank. I saw hundreds and thousands of people like you. You have high spirits, unlike the Israeli invaders. And by the way, I checked many soldiers who are killing and patrolling you. And by the way, they were not even Israelis. I found people who were from Africa, from Ukraine, from Argentina, who were serving as mercenaries for the Israeli army. They were not even Jews. Some of them were.
These people, as always, we tell these guys, if you look at the mirror, you will see that when I look to the mirror, my face like the soil of Palestine. But if they look to their face in the mirror, they will see the snow of Russia, or they will see the sun of Africa, or they will see the color of Europe. They don't belong to this land. But anyway, we accept the coexistence with these people. We accept the two-state solution. Our deal and our not demand, our right is very, very, very easy. It is even less than the minimum that we deserve. We accept 22% of the historical Palestine to build our independence state, but it seems that this mentality will let them lose 100% of the land. Believe me, in the short term, they could win, but in the long term, we are the Lord of these lands. We will win at the end of this battle because we have the just right to struggle for our independence. Unfortunately, Israel never miss any opportunity to miss all the opportunities for peace and for security for everybody. If they don't want win-win situation, I am sure they will go to the lose-lose situation. But at the end of the day, they will lose, and they will, one day the history will write again that once the Israelis occupied these lands and they were here, and the Palestinians bring back their homelands.
Yes, you are correct, right? I saw it during my visit that Israel is a failed military colony of the evangelical Protestant American empire. I saw the huge number of soldiers, of mercenaries that they had. I mean, in Tel Aviv, you could not go into a building, you could not go into a restaurant, you could not go in a shopping mall, but everywhere you were going to see soldiers and soldiers and soldiers. I mean, this is not a normal state. This is an invading colonial state which runs on money that the big empire gives to them. But since we're in the month Ramadan, Allah has told us in the Quran that this second Israeli state one day is going to fail, and it is going to fail, and the failure will be much more shameful for Israelis than when they suffered during the time of the Roman Empire, in the time of the Emperor Titus and the Vespasians. The Israelis, they know very well their history with the Roman Empire, and I mean, they have to call to their senses. They have to become human. They have to respect millions of peaceful Jews throughout the world who condemn the crimes of Israel and refuse to join these colonists who came from Poland, like Netanyahu, who came from Ukraine, who came from Russia. I mean,
my brother, you just here, you remind me to send a salute message and appreciation message to all of our friends and brothers and sisters, the Jewish communities all over the world who denounce the practice of the right-wing governments. They are in the same direction. They are in the same ship with us. And we highly appreciate their struggle for freedom and for justice. When they raise their voice against the apartheid, it doesn't mean that it is not anti-Semitic. It means that we correct the direction of the history towards freedom and justice.
We have thousands of people from Noam Chomsky to Miko Peled and what have you. We have thousands and thousands and thousands of humanist Jews. We have Orthodox Jews who condemn this ugly state of Israel. I have met many Jews throughout my life in Albania, in Italy, in Canada, throughout Europe, who they tell me we are ashamed of this regime, who they tell me Netanyahu doesn't represent us. The Zionists, they do not represent us. Raed, I'd like to thank you very much. I'd like to give myself to all our friends in Palestine. I have to tell them that I thank them for their hospitality that they give to us as Albanian journalists. December.
You always welcome. It is the minimum, our brother. You always welcome. You have brothers and sisters here in Palestine.
I'd like to thank your foreign ministry for helping us in our trip. And I want to remind them that I wrote this book and the Albanian public can
Thank you for making it.
Thank you very much. And we wish and pray for peace and for the best for your brothers. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.